Dance this waltz, and I'll let you sleep under my roof." The words slammed into her chest. Laughter ripped through the room. Dozens of eyes burned into her. Every finger pointed, every smirk cut deeper. A little girl, barefoot, head down, dress torn at the seams. The millionaire's voice thundered again. "Prove yourself, or freeze on the street tonight." Her lips trembled, her knees locked. The floor beneath her felt colder than the winter outside, but she didn't move. She didn't speak. The crowd roared louder. "Spin, beggar! Let's see your little dance!" Their laughter shook the chandeliers. It swallowed her silence. She stood small, alone, humiliated. But inside that silence, something dangerous was rising, and when it broke, not a soul in that ballroom would forget. Just minutes earlier, before the silence, before the deal, before the demand that stopped the room, the penthouse ballroom overlooked Fifth Avenue. You could see the yellow cabs crawling below, but inside, it was all marble, gold, and chandeliers. The floor shined like water, curtains heavy as armor. Music floated from the jazz band in the corner. Champagne never stopped moving. Silver trays, crystal flutes, endless bubbles. Wall Street bankers bragged in tight circles. "Shorted the market today," one said. "Closed 100 million before dinner," another smirked. Hampton's socialites waved diamond rings. "My husband just bought a new place in Montauk." "Oh, we're in East Hampton. Bigger lot." Trust fund kids laughed too loud. "Dad wired me another 50 grand. Chump change. Mine gave me a Porsche." The room sparkled. The money talked, and the air reeked of cigars and entitlement. But outside, a different New York. Ballet drivers paced in the cold, breath rising in thin white clouds, hands stuffed in pockets, engines humming behind them. Inside, gloves came off to show diamond bracelets. Outside, knuckles cracked from the wind, and then, her, the girl, standing at the edge of it all, barefoot, dress ripped at the seams, skin dry from the chill of January streets. She looked like she belonged outside with the valets, but here she was, inside, among them. On the same marble floor, a woman clutched her pearls. Who invited her? Another leaned in. "This is Fifth Avenue, not a shelter." They laughed. They didn't bother lowering their voices. A man whispered into his drink. "She probably slipped in through the service door." Another joked, "Careful, she might ask for a handout." The jazz band kept playing, but every eye landed on her. Every whisper cut deeper. She didn't move. She didn't defend herself. She just stood small, head bowed, hands pressed together. The divide in the room was sharp. On one side, power, wine, applause. On the other, silence, hunger, shame. Someone raised a glass high, to power. Another echoed, to legacy. The crowd cheered. The girl stayed quiet, her throat dry, her stomach empty, her silence heavy. And none of them knew. In just moments, the toast would end and the spotlight would shift to her. She stood small in that room, but her story was bigger than anyone there. South Bronx. Parents gone, not to choice, to eviction. The rent doubled. The landlord locked the door. They never recovered. Now she stood in Fifth Avenue marble, head down, dignity and silence. She never lashed out, never begged. That was her power. Calm in the storm. A woman whispered, "She looks lost." A man chuckled, "Lost? She looks like the Bronx walked in here." Another said, "Send her back downtown." The girl didn't answer. Not a word, but every insult stacked like bricks. Then him, the man with the glass, the millionaire, old money, hedge fund, made his fortune while others lost theirs. 2008 was a crisis for millions. For him, it was a payday. He thrived when others drowned. That's what gave him his smile. Sharp, cold, certain. He loved an audience, he loved control, and humiliation was his favorite trick. "Don't look so serious," he told a banker. "It's only money, and I have more." The crowd laughed, polite to him, cruel to her. That was the code of the room. Respect up, disdain down. A woman in pearls leaned closer. "Such a generous man," she said. "Generous with his own, merciless with the poor." Every glance at the girl was sharper because of him. He didn't need to speak. The crowd mirrored him, the sneers, the smirks, the dismissal. But not everyone. In the corner, a waitress from Queens, tray in hand, eyes on the girl. She knew that look. She'd seen it before. In subway cars, in food pantries, in her own mirror. She didn't say a word. She couldn't. Not here. Not in this crowd. But her silence was different. It wasn't mockery. It was recognition. The girl lifted her eyes just once, met the waitress, a pause, a knowing, then back down. Quiet, steady. The millionaire clinked his glass again. The room hushed, all eyes shifted to him. He smirked, and the crowd leaned in. They thought she was nothing. They had no idea what she carried. The waiters kept moving, eyes forward, not a glance her way. Glasses of champagne floated to every hand, except hers. She shifted slightly, and they shifted too. 2 steps back, a circle widening around her, like she carried something they couldn't risk touching. "Don't let her brush your dress," one woman whispered. "She smells like the subway," another laughed. The words cut through the music. They weren't meant to be private. The girl stood still, hands pressed together, eyes lowered. Her silence was the only shield she had. The pearls rattled as a woman clutched her necklace. "Why is she even here?" Her husband snorted. "Probably a charity stunt. These parties love pity props." Their laughter spilled into the crowd. The band kept playing, but the sneers grew louder. 2 bankers leaned against the bar. "Market's bleeding again," one bragged. "Good for us. Volatility makes us richer," the other replied. Then his eyes flicked toward her. "Bet she doesn't even know what a stock is." Laughter again. Sharp, empty. Someone walked past her and muttered, "Careful, she might ask for change." The group erupted like it was the funniest joke of the night. A man sipped his drink. "Look at those feet. Bare, dirty, like she came straight off 149th Street. Another laughed. "Don't joke, that's exactly where she belongs." The girl didn't answer. She didn't defend herself. Her face stayed calm. But calm doesn't mean unhurt. Calm can mean survival. The waitress from Queens passed by again. She slowed, noticed the girl's hands shaking, balanced her tray and whispered, "Hold on," then moved on. Quick, quiet, the only kindness in the room. Phones lit up across the ballroom. Selfies snapped under chandeliers. "Tag me in that," one woman said. Another laughed. "Make sure you crop her out." Every whisper dug deeper. Every laugh pushed harder. She was surrounded but more alone than ever. Have you ever been in a room where you felt invisible? Drop a yes in the comments. That's what this was. Not just invisible, erased. Wrong place, wrong girl. A voice muttered near the band. She should be in a shelter line, not here. The trumpet played on. The cruelty didn't stop. Someone should hand her a broom, another chuckled. She'd be more useful that way. The men clapped each other on the back. The girl's chest rose slowly. Her lips parted just slightly. But no words came. She swallowed it all. Another woman whispered, "Her hair. God, it's unkempt." A man replied, "What did you expect? It's not like she has a stylist in the Bronx." The Bronx. That's all they saw. Not the child. Not the loss. Not the dignity in her silence. Only the label. Only the place. And still, she didn't move. Didn't speak. Didn't cry. Every insult stacked like kindling. Every whisper was a match. Every laugh was gasoline. They didn't know it, but they were building the fire, piece by piece, word by word, and the fire was about to start. The noise of the room had been steady, glasses clinking, cigars burning, laughter bouncing off marble walls. Then, 2 sharp claps. The millionaire's hands, loud, commanding. "Music," he barked. The jazz band froze mid-note. Eyes darted to him. They knew better than to pause too long. Strings shifted. A violinist leaned in. The first chords of a waltz floated through the air. Slow. Heavy. The millionaire raised his glass high, his voice carried like a verdict. "Let's see if our little guest can dance." The room erupted. A cheer. A chorus of mockery. Feet shuffled. Heels clicked. The crowd began to circle. All eyes pinned on her. The girl, alone in the center, barefoot on marble, dress hanging like rags against the glow of chandeliers. She didn't move. Not an inch. A woman sipped her champagne and smirked. "Go on, sweetheart, give us a spin." Another added, "Spin for us, subway girl." The crowd cackled. "Barefoot ballerina," a man laughed. "Hope she doesn't scratch the floor." One leaned closer to his friend. "She's trembling. Look, she's scared stiff." The girl stayed silent, head bowed. Hands pressed together. The millionaire took a step toward her. His polished shoes echoed on marble, smug grin stretching across his face. "You want a roof tonight?" he said. "One dance, that's the price." The crowd gasped. Some laughed louder. Others sipped their drinks like it was the best show in town. That's brutal, one whispered, but his smile didn't fade. Cruelty in the open. And nobody stopped it. The girl didn't lift her head. Not yet. Don't be shy, a woman mocked. Show us what the Bronx taught you. The Bronx. That's all they saw. A label, a punchline. Maybe she's never even heard of a waltz, a banker chuckled. She only knows subway shuffles. The crowd howled, louder, meaner. The millionaire leaned closer, voice sharp. Come on, child, one dance, one waltz, and you earn my roof. His words cut the music. Even the band hesitated. The girl's chest rose slowly. She breathed deep. For the first time she moved. Her chin lifted. Her eyes found his. Steady, calm. She didn't tremble. She didn't beg. Her voice broke through the roar. Clear, small, unshaken. Are you sure? The room froze. For a second, silence. Then chaos. She spoke. Did you hear that? She talks back. The crowd roared, thinking she had broken. Claps, cheers, mocking whistles, phones raised high. This is better than Broadway, a banker laughed. Cheaper too, his friend replied. A woman shouted, Dance, Bronx girl, dance. Another sneered, Earn your keep tonight. The millionaire smirked wider, convinced he had won, convinced her silence was shattered. But in that calm stare, in that quiet voice, there was something else. Not fear, not surrender, something heavier, something waiting. And what happened next? Not a soul in that ballroom saw coming. The waltz began, strings low, piano soft, every sound pressed against the silence. She didn't move at first. The crowd leaned in, waiting, mocking. Go on, someone hissed. Don't freeze now. Another smirked. Then, a step. Her bare foot slid across marble, slow, controlled. The room gasped. Another step. This one, smoother. Arms lifted. Her posture straightened. The laughter died. Mouths closed. Eyes widened. She's not stumbling, a woman whispered. She knows what she's doing, a man said under his breath. She moved again, graceful, sharp. Every turn was deliberate. Every pause was power. The millionaire's smile twitched. His glass lowered. He watched, closer now, confusion building. Because this wasn't desperation. This wasn't begging. This was discipline. Flashback. Harlem. A community center with peeling paint. Floors cracked, mirrors cloudy. She was younger then. Leotard borrowed from a neighbor. Shoes with holes. Again, her teacher said. Shoulders high, feet steady. She practiced in winter coats when the heat went out. She practiced on empty stomachs when the fridge was bare. She practiced when eviction notices were taped to the door. That was the South Bronx. Families losing homes as rents doubled, shelters packed, kids carrying trauma into classrooms. But in Harlem's gyms, small programs survived, funded by scraps, run by mentors who refused to quit. And there, she danced, night after night, hour after hour, no lights, no glamour, just rhythm, just grit, back to the ballroom. Every movement now carried that history. Every step spoke of Harlem floors, not marble. But it didn't matter. Greatness doesn't care where it starts. She's trained, a guest stammered. This is impossible. Another gasped. She's moving like a champion. Phones lifted higher. Screens glowed. Some recorded in disbelief. Others whispered as if in church. She's better than the pros, someone muttered. Who taught her? Not him, another snapped, nodding toward the millionaire. The crowd's tone shifted. Mockery turned to awe. Snickers to silence. Her arms swept wide. She spun with precision. She landed steady. The band leaned in too. Their notes grew sharper, fuller. They followed her, not him, her. The millionaire shifted on his feet. He tugged his jacket. His grin was gone, his control slipping. Because for the first time all night, he wasn't the center. She was. A banker shook his head slowly. This isn't a joke anymore. His wife whispered, This girl is history. You're watching it. The girl's silence was no longer humiliation. It was command. Every guest leaned forward, eyes fixed, no laughter now, only awe. The music swelled. She rose with it. Each note met her body. Each pause echoed her stillness. By the final turn, by the final sweep of her arms, the entire room was hers. And by the time the last note played, no one in that ballroom stood on his side. Every eye had changed. Every heart had shifted. The room wasn't laughing anymore. The room wasn't mocking anymore. The room was hers. The music ended. Her final step landed clean. She froze in place. For a breath, silence. No laughter, no mockery, just silence. Then applause, one clap, another, then a wave. Hands collided across the room, chairs scraped back. Guests rose. "She's magnificent," a woman whispered. "I've never seen anything like it," said another. A banker near the bar muttered, "That's not an orphan, that's a star." His friend nodded slowly. "A prodigy," and we laughed. Eyes softened, some glistened. One guest wiped her cheek with a silk napkin. "She made us cry," she whispered to her husband. The circle broke. Guests leaned forward, phones lifted higher, every angle recording. The power in the room had shifted. It wasn't his anymore. It was hers. The millionaire's jaw tightened. His face flushed red. He forced a chuckle, lifted his glass. "It was just a game," he said loudly. "Just harmless fun." The crowd didn't answer. Not one laugh, not one smile. A man whispered, "Fun? That was cruelty." His wife pulled his sleeve. "You saw her. That wasn't a game." The millionaire tried again. "You misunderstood me." His words stumbled, weak. The girl lifted her head, eyes steady, voice firm. "A roof isn't yours to give. Dignity isn't yours to decide." Her words cut the room open, sharp, final. The applause swelled again, this time louder, longer. Phones stayed up. "Get this," someone said. "Post it. People need to hear." The millionaire shifted, pulled at his jacket, but the cameras caught it all. One woman shook her head. "We cheered him on. We were part of it." Another whispered back, "Not anymore. Look at her. She owns the night." The crowd turned colder toward him. Eyes narrowed, arms folded, feet stepped back. He was alone now. The center of shame. The subject of every recording. He tried to speak. "You don't understand." But his voice drowned. Applause covered him. The sound rolled across marble like thunder. The girl stood calm, still. The storm around her no longer against her. It was for her. One banker leaned close to his friend. "History," he muttered. "You just saw history." And the millionaire? He was finished. Not by force, by exposure. If this were you, would you forgive him? Tell me in the comments. Because some wounds heal. But humiliation lives forever on camera. The videos left the ballroom before the night was even over. Clipped, edited, shared, uploaded straight to TikTok. One clip showed her first step. Another captured the millionaire's red face. The most shared one, her words. "A roof isn't yours to give. Dignity isn't yours to decide." The views climbed fast. 10,000 in an hour, 100,000 by midnight, by sunrise, millions. The comments section exploded. "She just schooled Wall Street in one sentence." "I'm crying. Protect her." Finally, somebody spoke truth to power. People tagged each other. "This is the girl I was telling you about. Watch this. You'll never forget it." By morning, the media picked it up. New York Post, orphan dancer humiliates hedge fund tycoon. CNN, from Bronx shelter to Fifth Avenue ballroom. BuzzFeed, 2 minutes that stopped Manhattan. Community centers in Harlem got phone calls. Reporters asking, "Did you train her?" One mentor told a camera crew, "She practiced here every night, sometimes in socks because she had no shoes, and she never quit." Old photos surfaced. Her in a leotard too small, shoes taped at the toes, dancing on cracked wood floors. Nonprofits reached out. Shelter directors emailed. "We want her to speak. We want her to lead." Community leaders stood in front of microphones. "This isn't about one girl," they said. "This is about every child sleeping on trains tonight. Every family one paycheck from eviction." Donations poured in, first a few thousand, then tens of thousands. By the end of the week, millions. Harlem dance programs got funding they hadn't seen in decades. Shelters in the Bronx had lines of donors waiting outside. Volunteers showed up unannounced. "Put me to work. I saw the video. I had to help." And she stayed quiet, calm. The same way she had stood in that ballroom. At a press conference in Midtown, she finally spoke. Cameras crowded. Reporters shouted questions. "Did you plan it? Do you forgive him? What's next for you?" She leaned toward the microphones, voice steady. "Home isn't a roof," she said. "It's respect." The room went still. One reporter dropped his pen. Another whispered, "Did you hear that? Home isn't a roof, it's respect." Within hours, her words became headlines. Tweets, TikToks, murals painted in the Bronx, posters taped outside shelters. It wasn't just a viral moment now. It was a message, a movement. From South Bronx sidewalks to Harlem gyms, from TikTok feeds to subway ads, her story spread. And it didn't stop at applause. It didn't stop at donations. Because this wasn't just about her. It was about what comes next. And here's where you come in. Have you ever been laughed at because of where you're from? Because of the shoes on your feet? Because your clothes didn't match the room? New York knows that story. Kids in the Bronx know it. Workers riding the subway at 2 a.m. know it. Waitresses holding 2 jobs know it. Homeless teens sleeping in shelters know it. Maybe you know it too. If you've ever walked into a room and felt small, if you've ever swallowed the words you wanted to say, this story is for you. Drop your story in the comments. Don't hold back. Your voice matters here. Because this isn't just a video, it's a mirror. Someone out there is living the same thing tonight. And they need to see they're not alone. Share this, send it to a friend, post it in your group chat. Because silence protects the cruel, and silence keeps the cycle alive. Don't scroll past this. If you stay quiet now, the next voice ignored could be yours.